as Dell and I had envisioned when we designed it. The thing that's difficult when we talk about rules, and somebody says, what are rules? Rules are a list of things you can and cannot do. Rules are procedures you must follow. And if you asked me what do I consider cumbersome, are those exact things. Procedures that must be followed in a particular order. That means we're restricted in how we can stretch out when somebody does something that's off the rails. In combat, for instance, out of order. Like yesterday, Kevin said, I want that horse, I want to steer that horse. Literally, I could have said, dude, your turn's over. And in another game, that would have had to happen. I would have said, on your next turn, you can use your magic to steer the horse toward Axton. Well, by then, Axton's dead, guaranteed, right? Or something, maybe not, But in our system, there is no procedure. There is no, so it's almost like as he does this, he's praying to the gods, send the horse to Axton. Of course you can simultaneously, in our game, magic is that subtle. Magic can be that powerful in a subtle way. And thank God Kevin didn't worry about whether it was his turn or not. Thank God Kevin didn't think about that. At any time, Dale could have said, I'm charging into that sword fight. I'm literally going to run away from this guy on the horse and charge into the sword fight with Axton and this guy on foot. Almost simultaneously, live. There would have been, I would have just said, okay, this is going to increase your difficulty as you have to run about 25 feet and you have to dodge this other guy on a horse and you're going to dive into a already ready to combatant. I'm going to make this a harder hit for you. And that's kind of what we want to achieve, is the players see the battlefield in their mind's eye and they take liberty. They take license. They take responsibility. And they envision it, and then they go for it. So in our game, when I say our game is simple, it is simple because it's a single die roll. Players make every roll, and it's a simple list of difficulties that's modified by your attributes that you call into play. And they're called into play by hopefully by good narration. You don't have to say, I'm using my spirit to do this thing. I know instantly when Kevin said, I want to steer that horse. Is there any chance that horse is going toward him? I know instantly this is a prayer. This is a spiritual want, right? So it's simple. We're going to add your spirit to this check. Okay. And that's the intuitive play we want to come from all the people, from the GM and the players, etc. So in our game, part of the rules are literally the very broad and open statement. Players have naive narrator and they have agency. They have control of the narration, right? And how do you write that as a rule? Well, you really can't. You just make it clear and then you try to demonstrate and you try to give examples in which players, after a couple of sessions, can begin to go, oh, I get it. There is no procedure here. It's not necessarily I'm going in my turn and right. Now, a GM has to keep things under control or things could get really confusing and we could lose track. But because the players are actually in charge of the scene, they don't have to ask me or wait for me to cue them. Dell could have said, I'm waylaying this knight on the horse. And I say, make a difficult roll. He rolls and we narrate who wounds who and we go on to the next. And Kevin says, I'm gonna use a pole to. So it could be really where they're having a conversation. Not even to me. It's a conversation of this fight between. I always want the players playing, and the GM is just making sure things are fair, almost like a referee. It's non-traditional, and it's going to take me breaking my own. It would be. It's ironic that I would sit down to design and to write a game that I have zero habits toward. As Dale said, I have great habits toward wanting to give the players license. I have great want to describe and make a narrative type game. But I have very, very bad habits about traditional gaming. And it's not that I don't like that gaming. I love that gaming, and I'll do that when I play those games. But when we play our game, we want people to have a different experience. We want this to be a role-playing experience, not a game. It's not me versus them. I have just introduced 6 horsemen who are chasing them, ambushing them on the river. They're dangerous mercenaries. What do you guys see? Tell me what's happening, right? And then it's just about me making sure I adjudicate and keep it fair, keep it clean. And there's still got to be some truth that they can't know, or it's no fun for them, right? If they create all the mystery and solve all the riddles, it's no fun for the players. There has to be a sense of unknown, right? But what if they were having this amazing dialogue about how the combat looked, right? Dell's not telling me, he's telling Todd. Dell's saying, and I step up to stab your foe in the back, Axton, while these horses dive by me, and then I say make a hard roll because you're surrounded by 3 horsemen. So Dell rolls, he misses the roll, he gets a wound from one of the horsemen, and I just described how he feels a sharp pain in the back, and he takes a wound. And then they're back to narrating how the horses and Dell's and Axton are in a fight. What if the players share this amazing scene? Instead of asking me what the scene looks like, they share the scene, and the GM just says, roll, hard, difficult, easy, right? And then, of course, there would be some sense of truth. Who are these guys, all right? They can't decide that. And so that's why I would speak to Axton. And I had this mercenary say, so you're the great Axton, huh? I expected a harder fight from you. And those are things that cue Axton that there's a whole lot more going on here than just these guys randomly waylaying them, right? They've been hunted. They were betrayed. It was a random seed that one of the fishing boats were actually going to delay their journey so they could be ambushed by Van Morts. That was the matter of fact. What does it say? I actually wrote one of the fishing boats is where is it at? I've got multiple fishing boat ones here. Yeah, here it is. Simon falls overboard, triggers ambush of the Van Mort mercenaries. So it turns out Simon and Peter had taken money to betray and set up an ambush along the river, and that's exactly what happened. And it was great fun. Anyway, everything came out of that session I wanted. Got great feedback from the guys. The only thing, the irony of ironies of ironies, is I probably ran my game less effective, which is ironic, right? The guy who writes the game with Dell, the co-writers, and I probably didn't run it I didn't run it. I need to recognize our own system, and I need to break those habits, so I'm running our game the way I write it for other people to play. So I think it's ironic, but I was finishing Kevin's narration. I had finished Todd's narration, and again, I don't think they thought anything of it, because that's what happens in all D&D games, right? They roll a 20, and then they kind of sit back and wait for the GM to explain, what does that 20 look like, dude? They don't want to step on my toes. And the GM says, well, or I very often will say to a player, tell me how you kill them, right? So I want them to finish it. But they still wait to find out if they've done double damage, or there's still that pause, right, in traditional gaming as to what does a 20 mean, kind of thing. Or is that a crit? Is that double damage? Wow, what is it? So it was great. And again, it would have been a lot easier for them even if they had read the rule book. It would have been a lot easier for them if they had played before. And like I said, the more we play test this, the more we're going to see how this system imparts a different role-playing experience as the players, in a way, are telling the tale. I mean, I actually was going into this kind of hoping they would take over the narration of the river journey, right? However, they can't, because they don't know the truth of the world. So those are expectations that are really truly not fair to the players, and a little bit unfair to the mystery of the game for them. If I said, tell me what the river looks like. Now, that's not to say I couldn't have said, because Kevin said he came from London. I could have said, as you guys float into the range of London, Kevin, tell them all about London. Tell them what London looks like. Tell them what you know of London. And again, that would be Kevin's character's experience. It doesn't all have to be true. It's just Kevin's character's experience. If you ask me, I went to Detroit last week, and you say, well, Jason, tell me about Detroit, you're going to get my opinion of what Detroit. That may not be the same opinion as somebody else, right? And so that would have been a great chance for me to say, Kevin, tell us about London. And it would have been Kevin's truth, and it would have been true to the players to an extent. And it could have been true to me, and then there were other layers of truth, right? So that's what we want to get to, is where I want the players to really feel like we're all players, we're all GMs, in a way, right? Okay. I don't want this to be a party game. I don't want this to be a board game. I know they make those games. I know there are games like Fiasco where everybody's playing against each other, everybody's working together to create a story or a thing or an outcome. I'm not remotely interested in that. I want this to feel like a traditional fantasy tabletop role-playing game, but I want to change in a way the weight of the player's truth, the weight of the player's imagination. So when when Todd at the beginning tells of the dragon hitting the back of the boat and flipping the bow up, and he takes Peter over the edge and he uses the bow of the boat to obscure the vision of the dragon. True. Brilliant. True. He made the die roll, right? You make the die roll, dude, tell me exactly what the hell's going on. All that they needed to know was the dragon was spewing fire and they were about to get injured, or the boat might go up in flames. I didn't have to give them any other details other than it was blowing fire. He landed the dragon on the boat. He flipped the bow of the boat up. He used that as an opportunity to abandon ship and obscure the vision of the dragon. At the same time, Kevin is using the magic to call, in a way, to call a blessing upon the horse, to draw the dragon's attention to the horse. And then he basically forces the horse out of the boat, the knight's horse out of the boat. And the dragon, of course, he succeeds incredibly well. I think it might have been a 20 or 19. And the dragon then's attention is, hey, look, dinner, and takes off after this horse, right? It was perfect. It was almost seamless. It would have been, like, if this had happened in session 5, these guys, it would have been almost like, it would have been this conversational, in a way, story going on live between these two, and then I would have just triggered, you got to roll to prove that, roll to prove that, roll to prove that. This is a hard roll to prove that's true, right? So we're going to get there, because this is really not only, we're not really testing the game. The game is mathematically sound, right? There is nothing we can discover that breaks the game as far as math or anything. What we're really doing is learning a new way to do this thing, right? So anyway, stay tuned, because I'm hoping to do a lot more play testing, and I'm hoping to share a lot more actual plays of our game, and I'm hoping to share all of these thoughts and all these reflections, good or bad. I'm more than willing to admit and share bad as well as good. Like I said yesterday, I was oddly enough, I was the thing we needed to overcome, because I wanted to do more narration. I wanted to finish those die rolls. When they won those die rolls, I broke my own rules. The rules are they get to finish the narration. They get to tell what happened. And damn it, I did it. I don't know how many times I took over and finished their positive narration, when I should only do their negative narration, right? You got wounded. Here's how it happened. You win. Tell me. You win. Tell me. So I've got to get out of my own way, right? So anyway, thank you for listening. Good day.